Hey, this is Dr. Paul with Secrets of Chiropractic Success, and I've opened 77 offices in 20 states, and I've done a lot of chiropractic offices, been training chiropractors for 25, 30 years. There's one fast way to increase your income the fastest, and that's patient retention. The easiest way to increase your revenue is just to increase your revenue from your existing business. That's called patient retention. And the other reason I say that is most doctors have very bad patient retention. Give you an example, when I typically do an audit of a practice, the average doctor loses over 33% of his new patients by the eighth visit. 33%. Now, what does that mean? That means the doctor's got to get 33% new patients by every 8 visits just to stay even. So there's the easiest, fastest way. And by the way, this is how you can check to see how well it would work for you. Is what you would do is go back at least 30 days and they take like 50 patients. And then in those 50 patients, put them down like in a column left to right, vertical down. And at the top, mark 1 through 20. And then put an X across where that patient is the day they dropped out. So in other words, the first patient is, let's say they dropped out on day 5, put an X. Let's say the next person, you're still treating them, they didn't drop out, don't put anything. Let's say the next patient dropped out on the first day, put an X. In other words, the last day that you saw them, then add up all your X's. How many did you lose out on day 1? How many on day 2? How many day 3? And if you were losing at least 33% by your 8th visit, chances are we can increase your business over $100,000 in 90 days by learning patient education. Now, our patient education is based on the science of the 3 phases of healing. That's what patients understand, and it makes sense to them. So the therapeutic protocol is based on the patient's biomarkers, their test, and each of the 3 phases of healing, the inflammation, repair, remodel. And we simply explain that to them. Makes a lot of sense to the patient that's what their care is based on in each of the phases, because the care changes depending on what phase of care they're in and what are the positive biomarkers. And it makes sense to them. They go, yeah. Then the next part of the equation is we make it affordable. Because remember, there's 6 socioeconomic classes. There's only 2 of them that can afford to cut you a big check. So if you're trying to go after $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000 up front, chances are you're not going to get it because they don't have it. The average, again, 4 out of 6 socioeconomic classes don't. So what's important after they understand what the care is based on, that it's not just symptom care, it's based on a combination of tests, not just one test. And some tests are more important than others. And we explain that to the patient, which ones are more important and which one tests are going to show whether the patient ends up with a permanent problem to some degree. So that makes a lot of sense to the patients. They go, yeah, that makes sense. And now comes the cost. So we'll tally up the cost. It might be 25, 35, 45 patient visits. Again, how many patient visits the patient needs depend mainly 2 main factors: their age. The older we are, we don't heal as quickly, and how long we've had the problem. The longer we've had a problem, typically the longer it takes to get over it. And sometimes we can't get over it 100%. So those are the 2 most common variables that will determine how quickly the patient responds to care. So a younger patient with no problem, they might be a lot lower in patient visits to get through all 3 phases of healing. Somebody that's older, ongoing problems, might be a little longer, and we might not get them back to 100% by the end of the 3 phases of healing, but get them better than where they were. So those are the variables. So it makes a lot of sense to patients. So they buy into what, and by the way, that's what care should be based on. So it makes sense to them. It's easy to explain. So the next thing we got to do is make it affordable. So whether it's $1,000, whether it totals $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, we just break it down into terms. We'll take the money and we'll divide it into automated biweekly payments. And so they may, they may only pay $47 or $97 every 2 weeks to be able to afford care. So that it all makes sense. They can get all three phases of healing. They get back to normal as much as their body will allow, and they can afford care. We make it affordable, even if they do not have insurance. That's how it's done. So we'll keep like 8 out of 10, 7, 8 out of 10. Like in my case, I had a 74% agreement rate. In other words, 74% of the patients said, yeah, I'll take it, sign me up. And it was 3 out of 4. Well, you can build a pretty big practice real fast when you have 3 out of 4 of your patients staying for all 3 phases of healing. So anyway, if you want to learn more about that. So anyway, that's how you can find out how much money you're losing right now and how much you can potentially get within 90 days when you use this program. So again, go back at least 30 days, and then that's the starting point. Then go back 50 visits, so you have a good sample size of 50. Don't cherry pick. Don't cherry pick. Put them in order, top down, from top down, and then just go across 1 through 20, mark an X where they dropped out of care, and then just go straight down line 1. How many X's do you have on day 1? How many X's do you have on day 2? And if you have over 33% of your patients that are leaving by the 8th visit, in all likelihood, our system will increase your business $100,000 or more in 90 days. It's the easiest, quickest way to increase and here's the good news. That money is typically 97% profit because you're already paying for the space, labor, and equipment. You're already paying for all the overhead stuff. So it doesn't take as much overhead cost to process those people because you've already paid for it. So that $150,000, that's about 97% profit. That changes people's lives. When you make an extra $100,000, it'll change the neighborhood you live in, schools your kids go to, the restaurants you eat at, the clothes you wear, where you vacation, when you vacation. It'll change your life. So check us out. If you want help with it, by the way, if you want further information, just give me a call and I could help you with the audit. Or if you want further information, how it all comes together. But that's how you can find out real quick if you're going to be able to increase your business $100,000 or more with using my patient education system. Check it out. And then again, you can go to secrets of chiropractic success.com. Give me a call. Again, I'm Dr. Paul. I've opened 77 offices in 20 states. We teach all this. We teach all the systems of running a business. We've done it a lot. We've done it for 25, 30 years. So we teach all the systems of running a business. But you always start with patient education and retention. That's where you always start. If you don't know how to keep patients or you lose them left or right, everything else goes bad. The number of new patients you need, the cost, the quality of patients, your overhead goes up. Everything goes bad when you're not good at keeping patients. So that's the first place you always go. And that's the first place you always want to increase your knowledge and skill. Anyway, check us out. Look at your numbers. If you're over 33% by the 8th visit, give me a call. I'll be able to increase your business $150,000 within 90 days.